Good morning, you guys. This is Michele Zaragoza, team leader, Central Valley. We are going to have a guest speaker on talking about listings, the new norm, right? What's going on right now. And which actually is going to be the new norm in the sense of there's probably techniques that we've been doing that's been different, but we're going to keep doing it no matter what. Even fingers crossed, things changes out there. However, from my understanding this morning, I went to the gym and they actually said, that they are getting word that they might close down again. So we're going backwards a little bit instead of forwards. But I guess we all like to fail forward. So that's how I look at it. So I am going to, Shelby, are you on?
I am.
Are you ready to roll, sister?
I'm ready.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Or wait, you're going to, are you able to share?
Yeah, let me see if I can do it. One sec here. Yep.
I don't know if you guys all know Shelby. Shelby was part of our region, and now she's the co-owner of the More Real Estate Group, which is so amazing. And we're so excited to have you. And we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us, Shelby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to do so. Who all have I got here? Do I have Stockton?
You have all 5 offices.
Lodi, Manteca. Okay, all of
yes. All the above. All the above.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Michele. I am Shelby Ryburn with the More Real Estate Group. For those of you that don't know me, I am located just north of you in Sacramento, Greater Sacramento. I specifically live in Rockland, but our team serves all of Greater Sacramento. We are on track to do 160 units this year. We did 93 units last year, so a huge increase this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been really, really exciting. For those of you down in Modesto, can I get some hands raised if you're from Modesto? Anybody? Okay, I can hear some things. So I am born and raised in Modesto. My entire family still lives there. So I am there all the time. So would love to meet any of you if I haven't yet. I know I've been in that market center a couple times also. But again, myself and my partners, Brian Martell and Ricky O'Neill, we are the More Real Estate Group. And we've really been kind of redefining what real estate looks like for us. Michele, you talked about, there are some strategies that we've been enlisting for years that we should continue to do, right? And then there are some other things that we just have to shift and we just have to change.
Right.
Predominantly because of this thing called COVID, but even before that, it was technology, right? Like for those of us that have been in the business who've been doing it the traditional way for a really long time, we've had to pivot and figure out how to introduce technology into our practices so that we can meet people where they're at, because the reality is there are more people buying things online than they are, coming in and out of stores. And so in my time in the regional role last year, one of my very favorite aspects of that role was getting to be in a room with Gary Keller every single month. And he said something to me that really stood out, and it was about retail. So how do you guys feel like retail is surviving today?
Brick and mortar, not too well. That's definitely all online.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I would say that some are doing fairly well. Statistically, Macy's has not been faring well. And I believe that that's because they haven't done as much pivoting to create a certain type of experience, if you will. Right. But Nordstrom, conversely, has done exceptionally well. What are some of the differences between Macy's and Nordstrom?
The return policy is really, really good.
It is. And that's one element, right? But why do you think the return policy is really good?
Customer service.
Yeah.
Shopping online.
Yeah, because they lead with service. So point is, Gary said, listen, retail's not dying. Boring retail is dying. And I cannot tell you what that did to me. It hit me between the eyes, because I think sometimes we get onto cruise control and we forget to lead with service and lead with an experience. And so that's why we rebranded this year from Martell O'Neill to the More Real Estate Group. Well, one of those reasons is because I'm part of it now also. but you'll see that the E in our name stands for experience, because we want to make sure that that stares us in the face every single day when we wake up to come in and do our work. If we're not leading with an experience, we're going to become boring. We're going to become outdated. We're not going to innovate, and we're not going to put people first. And ultimately, that's what this role as an agent is all about. The moment that we stop serving people, the moment they stop coming back to us. And I think one of the things that we forget is that we shouldn't be waking up with panic on January 1st every year going, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it this year? Or how am I going to get more business this year? Not that we don't want more business, but you'll see one of the slides that I'm going to go through is, how do we build practices that become easier, not harder? And I wholeheartedly believe that if we're focused on service and experience and relationships, that we'll offer ourselves a base salary in this business. So let's get started. This is really all about listings, and I'll just share with you some of the things that we've done in COVID to increase our business. We'll do 160 units this year, and we're right at 50-50, believe it or not. So 50% of our business is listings and 50% of our business is buyers, which is what the MREA model suggests it should be, right? Because the reality is, if we had 70% listings, while that feels good and sounds good, we're missing the boat, right? We're not doing enough to market our listings properly to get a return on the buy side as well. But most of our businesses are lopsided. Most of them are 70% buyers and 30% listings. And that's because listings are a different beast. And sometimes you do have to work a little bit more strategically in order to get enough. But the reality is they need to be the leader of our business, not the follower of our business. It just sometimes lands in our lap. So let's talk about what that looks like. So why are listings more important? And I know that most of you are muted, and I can appreciate and understand that. So, and yet if one of you would be willing to kind of collaborate with me here, why are listings so important in our business? Hi, Patrick, I see you.
They're the inventory which we sell. So by default, we need more of our product to be able to obviously sell it.
Yeah.
And then also listings convert into more than just one transaction.
Yeah. And that's the predominant reason. Without a doubt, that's the predominant reason. But what I wanted to talk about also, even before we go there, is listings. When we work with a buyer, is there marketing or let me decline that call. Is there marketing or advertising on the web when we have a buyer? Like, do we get to advertise ourselves online when we have a buyer, aside from when we close with that buyer and they give us a review and we get that online? But during the process, do we get any advertising marketing when we're working with buyers? No. Right? So also, we're not getting our brand out there. We're not becoming more known if we're in a buyer heavy business, which means that, again, you're going to be kind of running this hamster wheel, if you will, if no one ever knows about you. Does that make sense? So number one, listings, advertise, and market us, which branding matters. It absolutely matters. As the More Real Estate Group this year, we changed our branding. So we've been over the top with our branding, but I cannot tell you how much more known we have become in our market because we brand, right? And we can do that with fun swag, which we tend to do, t-shirts, hats, cups, etc. Yet if we didn't have anything to substantiate that brand, i.e. listings as our proof in the pudding, then the branding will only go so far. So remember that listings are the only way to really consistently brand yourself and attract more people to you. And that's one thing that's really important. How am I branding myself such that I'm becoming an attraction magnet where people are calling me, right? And if you have just buyers, you have no opportunity to do that. So number two, in this specific market that we are in right now, who holds the cards in a transaction, a buyer or a seller?
Seller.
Yeah.
A seller.
Yeah. And I would assume that your market is similar to ours since I'm just north of yours. But I worked with a buyer where we were one of 19 offers. Anybody else been in that type of situation?
Yes.
It's really an awful market for buyers right now. It's tough. I mean, people are waiving appraisal contingencies. People are waiving loan contingencies. They're shortening inspection contingencies. They're, choosing not to ask for things. They're having to over quote unquote bid, right? So the other thing is working with buyers in a market like this where it's crazy competitive is stressful. Yes. Who loves calling their buyer and saying, sorry, I know you've struck out now 3 times. Let's just keep going. Now, not to say that we don't need to do that. Obviously, we need to be empathetic towards the market and we need to be optimistic. I'm going to tell you this. I just got hired by 2 other clients who didn't want to work with their agent any longer and terminated that relationship because that agent was too fact-based and not optimistic enough. So that's a sidebar. It's not about listings, but I think that we need to present the facts of the market and say, hey, here's the market that we're in. It is competitive, but don't forget to be a leader in their life. And clients will absorb and feel everything you tell them. Literally this last weekend, I got 2 more pieces of business because their agent was almost too fact-based and not optimistic enough about fighting through it and getting into contract on something. So that's just a sidebar, okay? But sellers hold the cards. And so the reality is, in some cases, it can be less stressful to represent sellers right now than it is to represent buyers right now, too. So what do we do about it? So I want everybody to get out a piece of paper, okay? We're gonna do some homework together, and it's not gonna be nearly as difficult as this sheet of paper looks, I promise. Math is not my strong suit, so I'm not interested in, whatever this is. Does anyone know what that is? That's not geometry. That's like trigonometry or something. And I don't think I've even said that word since high school. Yet, we're going to go through an exercise here, okay? Okay, I need a couple of you to buy into some of this. I need some of you to participate in this. How many weeks did 2020 have? How many weeks in 2020 were there? Not a trick question.
52.
52. Okay. How many weeks do we have in 2021?
52.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to clarify that it's a system, right? So I want to lead by saying, if you don't put your business into a system, you're going to feel worn out over and over and over again because you're just going to be chasing whatever is in front of you and you're going to be going wide instead of deep. And what I mean by that, and we'll reference that later on here as well, but what I mean by that is if we don't have our business inside of a system, then we're going to wake up and feel like we're just running this race or this hamster wheel. And at some point in time, you're going to collapse. And usually we collapse for a period of time and then we get back on, and then we collapse for a period of time and get back on. But one thing I also heard Gary Keller say last year over and over and over again is leaders simplify. Leaders simplify. And the great Gene Rivers, in my opinion, takes that concept of leaders simplify and applies it to our GPS. Our GPS is our business plan, yes? Okay.
Yes.
And it also stands for the 1, 3, 5, correct? Interchangeably.
Yes.
Yes.
I've heard Gene once say, and this was several years ago, he said, listen, guys, I want you to really hear me. I'm like, okay, I'm all ears, right? I'm all ears with anything that Gene says. He said, if you're not implementing a 1-1-5, then why in the world are you building out a strategy 2 or strategy 3 or priority 2 or priority 3? Right? If you're not even following through on a 1-1-5, then abandon ship on a 2 or a 3 priority. Because it's not about having a beautiful plan. It's about implementing. It's about execution. And without execution and accountability to execution, you're going to constantly, again, feel like you're running in that race or on that hamster wheel, and that's not sustainable. I teach a class called Built to Last, which is all about sustainability, and that's a totally different topic for another day. But I want you to think of this exercise that we're about to do together as a system that can maybe help get you off of the hamster wheel. And it's a powerful system, and it's a simple system. So now that we know there are 52 weeks in the year, what if I said, you know what? I only want to work 40 of those weeks, okay? I'm a mom. I have a 6 and a 4-year-old. I have 2 sisters in Modesto who each have 3 kids. I have aging parents, right? Does anybody else have priorities besides work, or is that just me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yay.
Right? And to be honest with you, like I want time to do those things. I feel like the entire world this year like rented an RV and went on these, road trips predominantly because we can't be getting on planes and vacationing the way that we used to. And I was like, I need to do that. I would love next summer to take a month off after my kids are out of school and just RV it across the country. But right now I'm not in a lane where I can do that. So what do I need to do differently to offer myself more flexibility and more freedom? Because am I the only one that came into this business for some flexibility and freedom? Right? It just means I have to be disciplined more so outside of that space so that I can offer myself that flexibility and freedom. So if I said, well, you know what, I would love to get to a point where I took 12 weeks off a year. And it doesn't matter when I take those 12 weeks. Maybe I take them all summer. Maybe I take, a couple weeks every 2 months. Whatever it looks like. Let's pretend just for purposes of this exercise that we were going to work 40 of the 52 weeks. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. Anybody heard of the book, The One Thing? Yes. Right? It's one of our fundamental books. The MREA is our real estate Bible, right? It's the roadmap. And the one thing helps us get rid of all the noise that we constantly have the moment that we wake up and unfortunately look at our phones before we even get out of bed, right? Noise. See all these notifications that I have? Noise, right? And so one of our biggest problems as humans is having enough focus to stay committed to the one thing that's the most important. And so I do a ton of business planning teaching and GPS teaching, predominantly because I became a certified business coach, 9 years ago. And I think that if we don't stick to our plan, then, again, that's where the burnout comes from. So if we worked for 40 of these 52 weeks and in the spirit of the One Thing book, we said, I need to do one thing each of those 40 weeks. Okay. And that is, I need to get a listing appointment. Just one listing appointment for 40 weeks. That would mean we'd go on how many listing appointments in 2021?
Is that a trick question?
Thank you, Patrick, for asking that. I'm just making sure that I'm dumbing it down enough so everybody gets really clear. Yes, it's a trick question. We'd go on 40 listing appointments, right? Now, who on this screen today is amazing at tracking? Is anybody super good at that or just like loves tracking? Okay, I'm going to assume that you're like most realtors. I've spent a lot of time in leadership, right? So I've been hiring 150 agents a year during my team leader days, et cetera. And what I know is that most of us don't come into the business because we're good at tracking. Most of us come into the business because we love the freedom and the autonomy and the flexibility, and we're lovers of people. Yes? Let's not forget this is a people business. And typically, if we're wired to love people, we're usually not left-brained where we love tracking. However, what I would suggest is that in the spirit of this one thing exercise, it can be really powerful if you track that one thing. And so here's what I mean by that. Most of us don't know what our conversion rates are. Some of us think our conversion rates are 100%. Some of us might find that our conversion rates are actually 25% if we tracked it. Okay. So let's pretend it's somewhere in the middle. Let's pretend that we decided to make our one thing going on one listing appointment 40 times next year, once a week for the 40 weeks that we're working. And let's say that we quickly found out that we're actually pretty terrible at listing appointments. Like we didn't know it, but we started writing it down and we're like, well, shoot, I only converted half of those listing appointments. I got an F. Crap. Right? Last time I checked when we were in school, 50% was not awesome. Right? So if we got half of those listing appointments as listings taken, we just took how many listings? Half of the 40 would be
20.
20. Okay. Now, national, so write that down. I got 20 new listings of my 40 listing appointments. Now, National Association of Realtors suggests we get how many pieces of business from each listing?
3.
3.
Yeah, 3. Now, some would say 2. So let's be conservative because I want you to get the reality of how simple this strategy is. Let's pretend we only got 2, okay? And by the way, if you're not getting 2 pieces of business for every listing, you need to revisit your prospecting and marketing strategies around your listing because you absolutely should be getting 2 pieces of business minimally, if not 3 or 4 from every listing. So if you got 2 pieces of business from every one of those 20 listings that you took, by the way, you get to brand and market and advertise yourself all the way through. How many more pieces of business on top of those 20 listings did you just get?
40.
40 more, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's say that, like me, your strength is not in the follow-up. We know that the fortune is in the follow-up, but unless we're intentional about it and purposeful about it and have a system behind it, then sometimes we fall on the sword when it comes to follow-up. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say those 40 new pieces of business, you also only converted half of those. So you really ultimately only got 20 pieces of business from those 20 listings. You got me?
Yes.
You just did how many pieces of business from doing one
40.
thing a week? 40 times. You got me?
40.
Does that make
Yes.
sense? So you're
Yes.
40 times, let's say, what's the average sales price down there? Is it 350? Is it 400? Is it 300? Is it 500?
Probably 350, 400.
Well, it's right. It's about 425 on average for all.
Okay, so let's go with 400. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 40 pieces of business times 400,000. That's 16 million in volume. Is your average commission 2.5%?
Yes.
Okay. You just made $400,000 by doing
Wow.
one thing.
Woohoo.
You should all go to the business planning clinic like Michele was talking about, but let's be really clear. Your whole GPS could just be one listing appointment a week.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Okay. Now you've got to remove the distractions and enlist some help so that you stay accountable to that. But truly, this business is simple. It's not easy. We've got to deal with the emotions and the rejection and the activity. I get it. I'm in the trenches with you. Okay. Yet it can be that simple if you dumb it down. And that's where I constantly go back to leaders simplify, leaders simplify. Like those are the 2 things I heard from Gary last year. Don't be boring. You've got to create an experience, and leaders simplify. And it can be that easy. So how do we do it? Because I get like, okay, Shelby, now you're saying, you know what? That's my plan. I'm going to get one listing appointment a week, at least 40 times. How do I get those listing appointments? Well, first of all, have a plan. And this is where I'm going to revisit something I already said, which is choose to go deep versus wide. I cannot tell you how many agents I see trying every single thing under God's green earth. Okay. They're just trying every single strategy that exists. And they're almost never doing anything twice. They're doing 700 things once. Does that make sense? So this is where we go back to the 115 even versus the 135. Listen, if you can do a 135, do it, because that's the template. That's the model. But I would also suggest that you blow it up really big and put it on your wall in front of you, whether it's your cubicle or your office, because it's about execution, not and implementation, not just a pretty plan. So if you need to be that person that just has a 115, do it. I encourage you to only have a 115 until you see yourself consistently following through with it. Then maybe you add a second lane. Then maybe you add a third lane. Go deep, not wide. Secondarily, make sure you have a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. Really, really critical. Okay. So what I mean is, how do we get listings in the market of the moment? And those things change, right? Through ebbs and flows of going from a buyer's market to a seller's market, they change. in economical shifts, in political shifts. Let's not even talk about that at the moment. And by the way, remember to be the controller of that conversation, because there's a lot of fear out there. And if you don't control that conversation, people are going to buy into that fear, and then you're going to buy into that fear versus being the controller of that conversation. So there are certainly short-term strategies that we have to always go, how do I get business now, today, right? And then there are long-term strategies that most of us don't give enough credence or pay enough attention to. So let's talk through this a little bit. Short-term strategies. Have a plan. What are your short-term strategies? So a few suggestions, and then I'd love to hear from some of you. Number one, connect authentically. I cannot tell you, I think, how much more business you'll attract if you're a human with shortcomings than if you're a poster child realtor with too much polish, or, you know, a letter that says all the right things and it says it articulately, but I throw it in the trash the moment that it arrives in my mailbox. Okay. So what I mean by connect authentically is, how are you relating to your people in a way that connects with them humanly? Because people still buy people. They don't buy companies. They don't buy strategies. They buy people. So how are you authentically connecting with people? Whether it's through video, whether it's through your social media posts, whether it's through handwritten notes. And the other thing I would suggest to do is connect more. So our 36 touch went to a 72 touch this year. And that is probably far and away how we have gotten so much more business this year. It's probably far and away why we're up 75% this year. Because we went from emailing a couple times a month to emailing once a week. We went from doing, you know, having unintentional social media strategies to having very intentional social media strategies. We have videos up every week. They're not perfect, but they're engaging and they're frequent. And it did not take long before that started to create an attraction magnet that brought business to us. But you can't stop. You can't just do it for a week or 2 weeks or a month. You've got to do it all the time. If you want to follow us, we're the More Real Estate Group. You'll find us on Facebook. We're consistent all the time. Circle calling. You know, those are some more short-term strategies that you can enlist. And by the way, circle calling doesn't need to be cold. Come up with a contribution script, something that allows you to connect to the relationship to the person on the other side, rather than just, you know, you could be calling them about an event in the community, by the way. There's so many things that you can do that come from contribution that take away the wall that exists between you and the other person on the phone. The other thing I'm seeing that is really effective right now is letters. What's the inventory like where you guys are? Not good, right?
Very, very low. Very low.
Very low. Way more buyers in the market than sellers, yes?
Yes.
Yep. We've all got a pool of buyers that we need to find homes for, right?
Yeah.
So how are you getting those listings? Because someone's going to, right?
They're having it at Tropicana.
What? Oh. So what would it look like if every Monday morning you sent a letter out to 50 people? Just introducing yourself and saying, hey, we have so many people in the market right now that are looking for this, this, and this. These are the 3 buyers that I have to find a place for. Have you ever thought of selling, or do you know someone that would? I'm actually seeing that work all the time, but you have to do it consistently. And I know you need to be cognizant of how much you're spending. We always need to be watching our P&L first. We've got to lead with profit. But what if it was a small amount of letters that you were sending out consistently every single Monday? Take the market, guys. There's lots of people out there that are thinking about selling that don't know who to talk to. And the moment that something shows up that's authentic, that's different, that's not just some polished form letter that looks like every other polished form letter, right? Put wanted at the top. Put it in a black envelope. There are little tiny things that you can do differently to stand out. And they work. And there's lots of people thinking of selling. I've never seen more people want to move out of state in my life, right? And by the way, they're going to find someone to list their house. So we're still seeing people move up, right? We're seeing people move in from the Bay Area here. You guys seeing that there?
Yes.
Yeah, right? So take control of the market. Send out a letter once a week. Do it consistently. What else are you guys doing short-term wise to get listings now? Anybody have anything that's been working exceptionally well?
You guys, this is a chance to mastermind with everybody on this call. So definitely speak up. What are you doing differently right now to get listings?
Shelby, I'm using the direct mail capabilities in Command, and that's slowly but surely getting me some results.
Awesome.
I've been following up with clients that have sold houses the 3 to 4 years ago, and just letting them know they have equity, and talking to them about the market, seeing if I could answer
That's
any.
the reason why you have a database. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Very, very good.
That's great.
And using Command for Facebook ads.
Yeah.
You guys, we did a Facebook ad for a recruit. I think we're over 60 and we still have one more day. It's crazy how many leads I got on this one.
Here's what you need to know. You've got to go the extra mile, right? There are agents in our market that are going to get that business. Why not you? Why not now? Jim Rohn always says there are only 4 to 5 small differences between you and the competition. Tiny little tweaks can change your trajectory.
I like that.
So long-term strategies. These are really important. And again, this goes back to my soapbox about sustainability and being built to last, because maybe I'm the only one who has ever gotten tired, but I'm guessing I'm not. So here's the deal. Why aren't we looking at our database as our base salary? I'd ask you in this business planning season that we're in to really evaluate whether you're producing a base salary from your database every year. Because if you're not, then what I would say is you're not spending enough time on long-term strategies. You're only spending time on short-term strategies. Okay. And those short-term strategies will help you today. But when that same person who buys from you today or lists with you today and buys something else wants to do it again 3 to 7 years down the road, they're going to go find someone else. Right? So what are you doing differently to make your data bank your top priority? To make them your relationships, to make them your family, to be top of mind consistently. So I would encourage you to add more touches. Look at your touch program. Be more present and be more personal or authentic. Again, guys, people choose people. I will never work with someone I don't like. Will you? Right? So what are we doing to stay in relationship with our people? Because the reality is the MREA book says that we should get 2 pieces of business for every 12 people in our database. MREA 2 says it's actually 1 out of 10, but 10% is still good. If you have a database of 200 people, you should be getting 20 deals from it this next year. 20. But most of us don't, because we're not nurturing it enough. We're not loving on it enough. We're not hanging out with it enough. And this is where I would encourage you to maybe follow us or someone else that's doing a really good job at this. We decided to become more intentional with this year in our business. We do these super fun, creative pop buys. We delivered toilet paper one month. And we said, we got your back, right? And you know what's fun? People posted about it on social media and they advertised for us because they thought it was hilarious. right? I'm like, oh, thanks for the free branding. Appreciate it. We delivered chalk to kids and we said, we hope your quarantine is chock full of fun. People posted that all over social media for us. What are you doing to create a family out of your database so that every year when you wake up, you already have a base salary? And at that point in time, all you have to generate are your bonuses. Does that make sense?
That's so good.
What do your open houses look like? I'll tell you what, the Burns team in LA, my coach told me they're getting 400 people in non-COVID environment through their open houses in a weekend.
Yeah.
And they're getting 100 people even during COVID. We're not calling them open houses, right? But private tours, by appointment only, they're still bringing in 100 people.
Because they're being really, really purposeful about it.
You bet. And they have a plan. And by the way, open houses can get really stagnant because we do them all the time. They can get really stale, right? How do you make each open house an event? What are you doing 10 days in advance, 7 days in advance, 5 days in advance, 4 days in advance? I'm not saying that it doesn't require more work, but this is how we build a really big business to give ourselves the financial freedom that we need to achieve our big why, right? So how are you making your open houses an event? Are you circle calling? Do you have scripts for sellers when people walk in? So one thing my coach encouraged me to do was change what I was saying when people were walking in the door. Show them the 3 buyers that I have that are looking for homes and asking them if them or anyone else they know are selling, because I have people that need to buy right now. Here are the 3 people and what their needs are, right? And lastly, farming. Farming statistically takes how long? 12 to 18 months. Yeah, right? How long do most of us hang in there with farming? Not long enough, right? I'll never forget one of my first couple of years as a team leader. And I started as an agent before I was a team leader. And so I had an agent come in and she said, Shelby, oh my gosh, I'm not getting anything from farming. And I'm like, well, tell me what you've done so far. She had dropped like 2 postcards and mailed 1 thing in like a 3-month period. And she was like, what in the world? Right? And the problem is our humanness gets in the way, right? Like as humans, we're not great at follow through. We're not great at consistency. And yet if we don't do it, we're not going to see the results of what we're doing. And look at this screen to the right. It says eventually you reap what you sow. Guys, that can be good or bad. So if you've got an empty pipeline or no closings ahead of you, it's because you're reaping what you sowed.
Yep.
Conversely, you'll eventually reap what you sow from farming. And so I think it's a really good long-term play. But don't do it in 20 neighborhoods. Do it in 1, maybe 2, and keep doing it. Because 12 months from now, 18 months from now, you'll thank yourself because you'll need the business then. And you'll have become an expert in your neighborhood by then. So start now. Psychographic farming. Anybody ever heard of it?
No.
What a weird name. I wish we could rename it, but I'm told that that's what it's called. I got that idea from a luxury agent at the luxury retreat like 3 years ago. And she had this group and she calls it Amber's Girls Give Back. I don't know that I'm wild about the name, but what she did is in the month of December, she had, I want to say like 15 gals over to her house. She had wine and cheese, and she just said, I'd love for everybody to talk about, you know, the dynamics of you, what you do, your family life, and something that you're passionate about, something that you're wildly passionate about. And so she did this and she took notes. And the following year, January through December, she highlighted 1 woman from the group. And she went to the place of something they were passionate about. And the one I remember her talking about was one gal was like insanely passionate about animals, like SPCA stuff. So they went and visited the SPCA and they got someone there to talk about, you know, how they can help that foundation, what their needs are. And then she allowed this girl to kind of have the platform that night and gave her the microphone and said, you know, why do you love the SPCA? How is it that we can wrap our arms around you? What can we do to help this organization? And she did that month after month after month. Essentially what she was doing was building core advocates. Okay. And anytime someone from that group had referred someone, she showed up with a Dooney and Burke bag, and she gave it to that girl and said, hey, this, so-and-so Jane gave me a referral last month and I was able to help so-and-so, buy a house. Thank you so much. I rely on having a relationship-based business and I'm so honored that you would think of me. And she just did it in front of everyone, right? So it wasn't a business-related meeting, if you will, but she made that kind of an element of what that looked like. That's psychographic farming. It could look like having women over for coffee consistently once a month every year. It could look like having women over in your neighborhood for a wine night consistently every month. Certainly there are male versions of it too. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to give you some examples of things that I've seen done that work. Go deep in your relationships whereby you have more and more raving fans that know you and your business and are going to give you a piece of business. Because what would it look like if each of those 15 women gave her one piece of business next year? You just got 15 extra pieces of business, right? And then be the social expert in your neighborhood through farming. So my neighborhood actually didn't have a social media page, which is nuts. And I'm super grateful for that because now I get to be the owner of that page, right? I get to be the expert of that page. But even if a page already exists, you can still be the expert social media wise of your neighborhood. So make sure that you're including that in one of your strategies. So those are all long-term strategies. Be consistent, date your pipeline, enlist help, get accountability. And my goodness, never stop learning because it's what you learn after you know it all that counts.
That was awesome. Shelby, being the neighborhood go-to is so important. I remember when we were raising our kids, we actually went to the neighborhood agent's website. And so we could see what was going around in our neighborhood and see where the football games were going to all be, all because there's so many high schools. And my father-in-law loved going to the games, and my kids didn't play games. They were too young. So where did we go? We went to her site.
And how cool that you relied on her for just neighborhood information versus just real estate information, right?
Right.
How are we building influence? That's what's important.
Influence does matter. You're right. Anybody have any questions for Shelby? Co-owner of the More Real Estate Group.
Super honored to
Look at you, girlfriend.
We're having fun.
Good. I'm glad. Enjoy. Anything, you guys. Take yourself off mute and ask any question you would like.
I don't have any questions, but this was great information.
Aw,
I do have a question. This is Minerva. So
Hi,
what
Minerva.
would you recommend? Hi, nice to see you again, Shelby.
You too.
I wanted to see what your recommendation be in terms of starting a farm. How many? Because I know you said you don't want to spread yourself too thin. That way you can be consistent. What would your recommended number look like?
So my recommended number would be to start with one and do it well. However, make sure that you do your due diligence in researching what the turnover rate is in that neighborhood. Because if barely anybody moves, it's not worth it. Right? So I live in Whitney Oaks. Not a lot of people move out of Whitney Oaks, but Whitney Ranch right next door, there's been 149 sales in the last 3 months.
wow.
Okay. So make sure that you're selecting a neighborhood that has enough turnover. But otherwise, I would say one. If it has enough sales, one is sufficient. If it doesn't, maybe two tops.
Got it. And how many homes do you think should be in that neighborhood?
I don't know that there's an equation for that, but enough to yield you 10% of the sales. And you're not going to get 10% initially, but you could over time. It's just like market share in any, in a city, right? You need to get market share in that neighborhood. So just make sure that there's enough neighborhoods. I would probably say, north of 500 would probably be a minimum.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Danny, did you have a question?
I did. I was actually, what would you say is your target turnover rate that you should be shooting for?
Danny, I'm going to be very human here for a moment and tell you, I don't know.
Hey, that's okay.
I need to get better at knowing what that target number should be. At this point in time, I'm just making sure that there's enough for me to get 5 to 10% within 2 years.
All the old school farmers say 6% should be the turnover rate, but that's very, very difficult to find right now. So.
Okay, because that's actually what I was told, is anything over 5 to 7 is your target, but very hard to find right now, so that's why I wanted to ask. Thank you.
And then I would want 5 to 10% of that in 2 years, right? And then I would want an increased plan from there. And that's the thing. I think most of us wing it and go, well, you know, hopefully we get enough business from it. And that's where I think we need to be a little bit more strategic.
And Shelby, I was just looking it up. The recommendation is at least 7 to 8% turnover rate.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Anything else? Can I just leave you guys with one thing? And this is a little bit of a shameless plug. However, most of you are either in Modesto or close enough to Modesto that this might be relevant for you. So this is, can you see this? This is a little basket. Now this is actually like a minor version of it. And it's called Bond Farms. So they make natural honey, natural soap, and natural almonds. And their smoked almonds might change your life. I can't even eat almonds at the store anymore. And I should not say that because I know as a Modesto gal that Blue Diamonds, you know, I got to be behind Blue Diamond for the rest of my life. Yet I'm behind my sister more than I am Blue Diamond. And these are my sister lives on a farm on Blue Gum in Modesto. And they have like a little magnolia market. It's adorable. And she does all of our closing gifts for us. And so I like being relevant. We're in the Valley-ish. I know Sacramento's not much of the Valley anymore, yet my roots are in the Valley. And so I like to give local gifts. And I know a lot of realtors like to give local gifts as well. And so we give closing gifts. We do stuff just like this. And then we also do a cutting board. And then we have like their initial on the front. And then on the back, we have our More logo. Our clients absolutely love it. They like that there's something that they can use over and over again, which is the cutting board that usually has their initial on the front and our logo on the back, just like Cutco, but maybe a little bit different.
Can you put the address of the shop in the chat for us?
Yeah. And then we complement it with local honey, local soap, and local almonds. And our clients love it. So for any of you down that way, they're going to kind of expand their operation. And so I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was available.
Well, I really appreciate that. I can't wait to go visit the shop. Definitely. Is it all decorated for Christmas?
They're doing that right now. They're doing that right now.
Fun.
So
do they have a website?
They do. I'm going to put it in the Bon Farm Almonds. Okay. It is Bon Farm, Almonds.
Michelle's going to send it out and put it on our Facebook group. Thank you, Michelle, for doing that. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And I have a flyer too that I can send your way.
Yeah, please.
I want to include that. And I think Bon Farm Almonds is, you can find them on Facebook and there's also a website, but there's a flyer that I'll shoot your way, Michelle.
Yeah, and I'll send it out and we'll post it.
Perfect.
Shelby, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you.
You bet. I have 9 minutes to get an offer off. So I'm going to press eject, and good luck to everybody. And hopefully I'll see you in person at some point too.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Thank
We're going to talk about listings.
Hey,
So let's
Michelle,
chat about that. Who has a listing coming up that they want to tout and talk about?
I have a listing.
All right.
It is me, Danny B. We just went on the market on Thursday. It is a super cute condo, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1386 square feet, located in Porter Greens. It's 9 flooring, kitchen's all done, bathrooms are all done. 1-car garage. It's just super cute. So please go show.
Patio.
And it also has 2 balconies, one off the master and one off the front room. So check out the
Nice.
virtual tour online. Yes, listed at $199.9.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Listings? I know we had a lot on Facebook, so let's share. Janet, go ahead.
3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-story in series will be hitting the market on November 9th. It's unique. It has the master bedroom and bathroom downstairs. Built in 1994, I think it is. In a nice neighborhood in series. We're going to list it at $355. So bring your buyers.
Wonderful.
Hi,
Thank
this is
you so
Julie.
much.
I do have a listing coming up. Hopefully it's coming up today. We'll know more here by this afternoon. And it's on Windy Cove in Brookside in the little gated community there. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, large lot. And I'll hopefully have more information about that this afternoon. And it's going to be $389.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Me, Norma.
Norma, go ahead, please.
First of all, I have 1305 South Pleasant in Lodi. It's a 1190 square feet, central heat and air. Super cute. It's at $338. And then I have 2 that'll be coming up soon, probably. One is on Eureka in Lodi. It's a 2-1, 1304 square feet on a large lot, looking at around $335. And I have one on Telegraph in Stockton. It's a 2-1, super cute on almost a 1/4 acre lot, central heat and air, huge outdoor patio area with fans. You put a bar out there, whatever, and that's going to be around the 338 mark, 335 also.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Listings.
I'm sorry.
Come on, guys. We have 50.
The one
Go
on
ahead.
Telegraph actually is 238. My bad.
Thank you. Who else has a new listing? I know you guys are all busy out there because I saw a lot of action or activity this weekend, so that's exciting.
Hi,
So-
Michelle. I have one.
Yes, please. Of course you do, little rock star. Go ahead.
Well, we just got an appraisal on it because it's with land. I have, so before the listing, just to see where we're at, but it's on North Alpine in Stockton. It's 5 acres, 2,700 square foot home. I'm looking somewhere around 850,000. We're waiting for the appraisal though. So that'll be coming up in the next week.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else? Okay, so like in our Facebook group, I'm going to attempt to do it at least once a week where the flame is to tout your listings when you get them during the week. So if you can just chime in underneath that picture, it'll help and get the energy going. Because I know last team meeting, a lot of people were going back and forth with a couple different listings. So I like to see that. So obviously if we can help each other out because the inventory is low everywhere. So let's see what we could do together because obviously together everyone achieves more. All right, you guys.
Michelle,
Yes, Brian.
I'm sorry, I got to say this while I got 48 people here.
Yes.
If everybody you go into command, if you clear out your cache and you clear out your cookies and you go into incognito mode, that's the best way to work command right now because people are having troubles with their contacts. If you do all that and you do it incognito, you're good to go. Everything will work right except for filtering by tags.
And Modesto and Manteca, remember that Brian's going to be here tomorrow. So bring your questions.
Yay.
Perfect. Hey, I do have something for you guys. I did get a text from Zach, and he says he will meet with 5 of our agents. So the first 5 who email me and say they would like a one-on-one with Zach, let me know. That's the first 5. Go. All right, you guys, it's Monday. Be the best version of yourself that you can. All right, you guys, take care. Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.